Welcome to your Daily 5 for Wednesday, May 17th, 2023. Yesterday I talked about the first episode/film in the 4-part miniseries titled Robocop Prime Directives from 2001. Yesterday's episode was called Dark Justice. Today I'm talking about the second entry, which is called Meltdown. And this one is mainly centered around the newly created Robocable, which is Alex Murphy / Robocop's former partner, who was killed at the end of the first segment and has now been created as the second, and this is why I think they ignored the second film. They make a big point that they didn't know if they could actually replicate the Robocop success, but they managed to on John Cable and create another Robocop that is immediately sent out to make a bunch of mayhem in the city so that they can blame Robocop so that they can arrest him. I was never really clear on why the OCP wanted to do this, but that's what they do. It's basically a covert type of plot inside the company by a couple of people. And I'll be honest, I don't really know why they were doing that, but that's why he's suddenly a fugitive. And what it really is it's a long way to set up another version of Alex Murphy's awakening that happens in the first Robocop. If you remember, that starts where Lewis at one point says, "Murphy, it's you," and that starts to spur his memories, and he slowly begins to regain some of his humanity by the end of the film. They're doing a similar arc here, except instead of it being Lewis to Murphy, now it's Murphy to Cable. So they're putting Murphy into the role of Lewis in this particular relationship, where Robocable is dispatched to find him. They've wiped out his mind or his memories or suppressed them or whatever. And over the course of this episode, outside of the OCP machinations and showing us old Detroit, which has become a true slum of crime and, misery and poverty, there is also this idea that now Murphy is trying to get Robocable to remember who he is. So again, I kind of like a lot of the things that they're playing around with in this episode. And like I said in yesterday's, there's as much bad as there is good. The music is bafflingly ill-fitting this series. I don't understand what they were doing with the music. It's terrible. Not only is it not good music to begin with, but it doesn't fit this series at all. Some of the slow motion they use when Robocop or somebody else are getting shot up, especially Robocop, and when he's having seizures from his damage, it looks terrible. Not only because the stop motion effect is bad, but the direction given to the actor was, I don't even know what planet they were coming from with this, because it looks really bad. But again, like I said with the first one, the character interactions are very good. The actors are good. I like the fact that they're putting Murphy into the Lewis role. Because some people will see that as a retread, and it is to some extent, but I think it makes sense. And I like it because it's a very common thing where characters are put into the role of somebody else in later entries. And I don't mind it. And I think Robocable actually looks really good. I like his armor. They made it kind of a dark gunmetal chrome type of thing. He dual wields guns out of his legs instead of having one, which I admit is kind of stupid, yet I really like it. And I like the fact that there's 2 Robocops by the end of the movie running around shooting at people. And now they're partners, because he reawakens his memories. So I'm not, again, like I said yesterday, this is not an argument that this is some kind of hidden gem. I'm not going to try to convince anybody that this is actually a legitimately great series that has somehow flown under the radar or been unfairly maligned. There are lots of problems with this thing that I am basically choosing to overlook or not mention. So again, as I said yesterday, this is not a blanket recommendation. I'm not telling everybody to go watch this series, but this thing has some dreadful reviews, and I don't think they're necessarily being fair. Or I would say they are getting more hung up on the flaws of the series, which I don't think are due to the intentions of the people behind it, as opposed to a result of no budget and limitations that are due to the way this series was made. And I am willing to overlook those because I think the stories they're trying to tell are actually interesting. They may not be great even necessarily, but compared to some of the stuff that comes after big movies like this and what I remember of some of the other material that came in Robocop, and it certainly wasn't a retread like the movie was, where they just remade the movie again, I'm going to let a lot of that stuff go. So I'll be curious what the end of this is. There's 2 more parts left, but so far, Robocop Prime Directives in the first episode, Dark Justice and Meltdown, are keeping my interest. And for that reason alone, I'm sort of astonished, and I'm going to keep watching. So I will report back once I watch the other 2 episodes. Later.